like feminism is morally good.
What does that mean?
I think.
What does morally good mean?
In like a Christian Aristotelian kind of way,
that's
like Western, all of our like Western systems absolutely value things
let me
like
ask this question.
Real quick, just define feminism.
Sure. Feminism is, here, I always write it down so I can always cite it. Feminism, the empowerment of women's agency and the promotion of femininity.
What does that mean? Yeah, what does that mean? She did this last time with her freaking debate against it was Jay Dyer. And Jay Dyer wanted her to define it a little bit more because it was too broad. And she's like, well, I just did define it for you.
Femininity would be like the emergent things that we see. Nurturance, typically like empathy and kindness, all the things that we typically see in a Western society that would go, yeah, that's feminine by and large. Understanding, these sorts of things.
Things that identify as feminine as femininity?
Typically, yeah,
basically.
but like what's masculine? What's masculinity? The things that we kind of identify with men.
Bears, drinking big beers.
Well, it's like things like bravery and strength, right? It's things like being like protective, right? These are the things that we like see in all of our stories as masculine or feminine.
Were you guys gonna get your chance? Everybody, shut the fuck up.
Is femininity then related to like nurturing?
Yeah.
Having babies?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that's good.
Hot take. I think women actually lack empathy. Contrary to them saying that they have empathy, I think women have sympathy. They can feel sorry and compassion for sure. But when it comes to empathy, especially to the masculine experience, they don't have it at all. I would argue most women don't know what men want. They don't know what men are interested in. They don't know what it takes to keep a man around, which is why most girls can't even stay in a relationship long term or get married. And let's be honest here, the reason why they're not empathetic is because there's no need to be empathetic because men approach them. Since men approach them and they do the courting and they have to do everything up front, especially at the beginning, a lot of women aren't empathetic to the masculine experience because they don't have to be. Versus men, we have to be empathetic to women. Otherwise, we don't get laid.
Yeah, you're very empathetic to women.
Well, also too is just, and especially in today's culture, women are taught that they don't really have to care about what the men want. They only have to care about what they want and what their needs are, or else you're being oppressed. Back in the day, the women used to care about what the man wants and what the man needed in order to keep them around. But because feminism came around, well, it became, what can satisfy my needs? What can make me live, laugh, love?
No, well, here's the thing. I understand you guys, which is why I don't respect you. So that's why, because the reality is, if you understand women, there's no way you can respect them as an equal because they're inferior in almost every way.
Well, in what ways?
I just don't understand why you would say that.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, here's the thing. You can either respect them as an equal, right? Or you don't respect. Like, my thing is, I understand women. So since therefore I understand women, I cannot respect you guys as equals because you guys have a completely different worldview. You guys are inferior in almost everything that matters.
Like in what? Like what? Name the things.
You guys are weaker, dumber, smaller,
weaker, dumber.
Yeah, literally like
less fit, less strong. But by these standards, your co-host is inferior to you in every way because he's weaker. He doesn't exercise as much. He's not as strong. That's my point. That's not what. Well, the issue is. The issue is on the thing. Well, actually, not.
They always deflect and are like, well, you realize that there are men that are weaker than other men. It's like, yeah, we're not. No one's saying that. Yes, and like with force doctrine, weaker men have to appeal to stronger men. Like no one's denying that. But we're just saying that, most women have to defer to men.
I think I'm actually fitter than Fresh. He's stronger than me, but I think I'm literally fitter than him. And also when it comes to debates, I tend to be better than him in debates.
I'm
all the things that you tend to value are the things that he's inferior. The issue is, hold on, just so it's clear. I don't think that Fresh is inferior because I don't think that only these things matter to the value of a person. When we talk about things like the Western civilization tradition, if you guys actually care about the American project and what this means, we have to get real about the things that are the precepts of what we believe in. This is things like Christian theology and Aristotelian thinking. And in these precepts, everyone assumes that there is going to be a variety of ways in which people are beneficial, but we don't typically give inferior or superior because we recognize, for example, that while Fresh is not as strong as a debater as you, he's so good at networking, he's really personable, he's really good at like connecting people, and you value that. Whereas women are strong at other things. We don't have to be equal. We just need to be valuable.
But isn't there like you said, Christian?
That's how no one laughed because that's like the oldest joke that's ever been told.
This lady right here, so salty. But what did you expect? Like you look at this woman right here, and you already expect her to be like pretty, like she's going to be the problem feminist. She already has the problem glasses on. I have my smart glasses. I have my smart glasses on. She has her problem glasses on, and she already has the outfit that I'm a feminist and I'm gonna find a problem in everything you say.
Old. Women make sandwiches. You're stupid. Blah, blah, blah. It's like, I'm bored already.
Ugh, bored.
All right. Again, I'm still trying to figure out why she's talking. This is not a kitchen. I don't know what's going
There
on
it
right
is
now.
again.
Like,
There it is again.
It's crazy. to
I
me.
think it's great when you talk, though, because a lot of times people say that there's no need for feminism anymore. And then people hear you talk and you're saying that, you know, women should all be owned by men and all these other things that you say. And people might think differently because you're going to be a lot different new audience is going to see you thanks to me being on this panel. You're welcome, by the way.
Who are
Is
you
that what
again?
you-
I don't
is
even
that
know who is this female? I don't even know. Like,
She's the co-host of the highest rated
Yeah.
oh, really? Okay. Well, no one
Top-rated late
watches
night show.
mainstream media anymore anyway, so that's fine.
Yeah, she's the co-host of the highest rated whatever, but no one's heard of her. I never heard of her. Who the hell is this woman?
Would you actually think women should be owned, Myron? As she said, you believe?
I mean, it's kind of funny. She's over here, all this blah, blah, but she's married, which is a male-led institution, which is interesting to me. So it's like she's buying into it, even though she's trying to sit here and be like, I'm kind of like, I'm a feminist, but at the same time, I'm married, blah, blah, blah. It's like, pick one, man. You serve under a man. So it's like, I don't even know why she's talking. So
I serve under a man.
yeah, you're married to a guy, which marriage in itself is a male-led institution.
See, not my marriage.
Oh,
Yeah, we're
God.
equal.
So you were the
partners.
pants in your.
We're equal partners in my marriage. I know that.
Ooh, equal partners. Ooh, no. You refer to your husband or wife as a partner, you're gay.
That's crazy. That but it
The concept of equality is a lie. It's not true. One is always the leader. Who's the leader in your relationship? Who's the decision maker? You or him?
Depends on the thing.
This doesn't
Who
make,
is-
this
who is-
doesn't make one
Who's the
person more or
main
less
leader in the
morally
relationship?
valuable,
You or him?
Depends on the thing. He tells me what sandwiches I could make, and I decide what utensils I use to make it.
It depends on the thing. We are equal partners. We've been through a shit ton together,
Crap.
a lot of stuff together, especially recently. And I love him very much. He loves me very much. And I would never have a child with somebody who didn't see me as a person. I see a lot of posts on the internet about like the fertility problem and why aren't women having kids? And you look at the comments, you see why maybe women don't want to have kids with it ain't the women that are the problem a lot of the times. There's a lot of problems with talking about women, why don't women want to have kids, and not enough talk about why men aren't becoming, in some cases, the kind of partners that women would want to have a child with. I did not meet someone I'd want to have a child with until I met my husband when I was 30
Still
years
trying to
old.
figure out who the leader is here.
But
Nothing gets done by committee.
But
nothing gets done by
use the
committee.
world the way you
I want to
do,
bring it back to.
thankfully.
I want to bring it back to feminism because
Yeah, but I'm pretty sure this woman, she goes, well, I didn't meet a man that I want to have a child with until I was 30 years old, right? I'm pretty sure, though, she slept with, like, quite a few men. I'm not saying, oh, yeah, she, like, slept with a ton or something. But I'm sure she had a few, sexual partners before she met her husband. So wasn't willing to have a child with any of these men. But she was willing to, get her rocks off with these men,
I
Want to answer
think
the question?
I think feminism is a key component in relationship breakdown. There was a story several years ago where in New York, women in their 30s could not find men who made as much or more than they did.
Mhm.
And it was like a shock to the system. All these writers, these are female writers for various opinion outlets saying, why can't we find good men? And it's because they weren't attracted to guys who made less and they didn't want to be with younger guys. So the guys who were the same age as them, who made $50,000 a year, were like, I can date a 24-year-old woman, somebody who wants to have a family and is younger. So guys are aiming for younger women, but women are being told to get jobs and have careers. But you mentioned guys aren't stepping up. I think this creates an inverse problem where for young men, they're either struggling to date because younger women can date older guys through dating apps, or women, why buy the cow when you get the milk for free? If you know what I mean.
Like you can have sex without like.
These guys who are young are like, I don't need a job. I don't need status because if I go to the club and spend $15 on booze, I get laid.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
I agree. I just think that
Yeah, that, and then there's OF too. Why I don't even have to go to the club anymore. I could just, if I have trouble meeting women, well, I don't even have to meet women anymore. I could just go online and find some OF girls, subscribe to their account, and get my rocks off that way.
like this is like the trade-off of agency, right? Like agency is one of the most important things that we can have, the ability to choose, right? Because if you don't have agency, you can't choose to do noble and good things. You can't choose to do bad things. And so I would agree that like when I look at the modern dating culture, first of all, the 24-year-old girls are not like, oh, I'm so ready to settle down and have kids.
Right.
They're like, these are the people you're calling whores half the time, right? And so
They
the
used
issue,
to be.
yeah, they
People
Yeah.
used to get married and have kids at 22.
sure,
Yeah.
but we also died at 55 around the same time.
No. we didn't.
What does that
Yeah,
have to do
that
with
is not
anything?
correct.
Yeah.
We did have a
The-
lower life.
Yeah. What does that have to do? Even if it was correct, what does that have to do with anything? Like, what does it have to do with anything? So, what does that have to do with the fact that people used to get married like earlier? Not so erudite always does that. Like, if you bring up a point, she goes, "Sure, but this," and then brings up something that totally, um, just totally doesn't have nothing to do with the point.
That is
We had
not
a
correct.
much shorter life
The shorter life
expectancy.
expectancy was due to the infant mortality rate. People actually who survived infancy would live for a very long time. But
No,
while people are lived expectancy,
men were
well,
dying
life
in mines.
they're not at 55.
No, men were dying in
And-
mines, and women were also
sure,
dying in childbirth.
and while life expectancy has increased by a few years
A
recently,
lot.
that isn't changing the fact that society used to be very different. Women but pre-feminism were focused on families, and the big social deal was who are you going steady with and who you're having a family with. I'm not saying society should be that way, but when that's gone and women start prioritizing what job am I going to have,
Yeah.
you're
Yeah.
not going to have families at 22 like we used to anymore. And now we're in a fertility crisis, and we've got no young people. Gen Alpha is only 40 million people. It is half the size of the millennials.
Sure. So to this,
Yeah, another thing too is men have to go out and get jobs. Like men don't have they don't all have the luxury of going to college. It's like men have to go out and work. You know, men aren't given the choice of, hey, do you want to grow up and be a stay-at-home dad, or do you want to go and do you want to be a stay-at-home husband and a dad, or do you want to go and work? Men just have to go and work. And part of the reason they have to do that is because to build up some skills and also to build up their wealth, start building like their little start building themselves up so they can meet a good woman. Okay, women don't have to go and get careers to get men, but men have to do these things to get women. Okay, women aren't marrying men that are staying at home with their moms or anything like that. That's why that's an insult. That's why it's like such an insult when you say, oh, you just live at home with mommy, you just stay at home in your mommy's basement. That's why that's such an insult, because women aren't looking for that in general. Men don't care if women are working or not. Only women care if they're working or not, because they have been brainwashed by feminists.
I would basically say I agree that there has been a lot of cons that have come with giving women agency. I think giving women agency is actually like a deontological good. Letting
Agency, like if we never gave women any choices, women have always had choices. Men also have choices. However, men, when we say giving them agency, it's like, yeah, of course you have this choice, but we're telling you what you should do. You know, do men have the choice to stay at home and live with their moms? Some of them, yeah, of course they do. But should they? No. Same thing with women. Do women have a choice to go out and get a career? Yeah, of course they have the choice, but should they? No. They talk like, what annoys me about like Erudite and this other woman here, and a lot of these like feminists, if you will, they act like what we're saying here is that we want to lock up women in cages and just tell them what to do to do day and night. You know, like we just want complete control, and that's not what we're looking for. We're saying that men and women have duties. Men are, for the most part, fulfilling their duties. Women aren't. And we're encouraging men to fulfill their duties. You know, we could say, oh, this dude lives in his basement with mommy. But if we say, oh, crazy cat lady, oh, well, that's an insult. That's like a slur almost. But even so, for the men that aren't fulfilling their duties, there's a lot of men checking out when it's like, well, you know, if women are just giving away the milk for free, and if I don't have to work in order to take care of a woman because women are kind of taking care of themselves now, again, then you're also leading to men not really doing well for themselves.
people choose means that they have the choice to choose the noble things. This is really, really important in Western society specifically. This is the foundation of what we believe in the American project. And so, yes, women back then didn't have as many choices. They couldn't own private property. They basically had to be married to a man to have any access or rights or
They
power.
couldn't have a credit card till the 80s.
Exactly, right? So women
Better
had
times. Less
women,
debt.
women had less agency. Women had less agency. But I would argue that that was a moral failing of society. And just because the outcomes right.
See, that was a moral failing of society. Here, I'm going to go back a little bit. I was too busy laughing at the salty look on that feminist face.
Moral failing of society. And just because the outcomes right now might be worse, that doesn't.
Better times. Less debt.
Women had less agency. Women had less agency. but I would argue that that was a moral failing of society. And just because the outcomes right now might.
Okay, so women having less agency was a moral failing. So again, we're still now a society, women could do pretty much whatever the hell they want, and men can't do whatever they want. Men still has responsibilities. Men still have the same responsibilities they did back in the 50s. They still have the same responsibilities, right? Oh, but women now have agency. They can do whatever they want. But yet still that was a moral failing. Again, they act like women were, we just kept women in cages all day. They were pretty much our slaves. They were the slave class, if you will. And that's how women were treated. Like they're so whacked.
Be worse, that doesn't necessarily mean that this is not something that we fundamentally value. We value in America giving people choice.
I hear that. I remember, last week we had this big debate on police.
So where's the choice for men to be stay-at-home husbands and fathers?
And I think the shortcomings for Michael Malice, which I respect the guy, he's a good friend, but he kept saying police were bad. And it sounded like all he was saying was, yes, there are big problems with police and there's no alternative, or the system will always be bad in some way, but there is a worse. So I look at this now and I'm like, okay, I agree to a certain degree on the deontological aspect of people should have free choice. You want to have a job, you can do it. You want to have finances, all that's fine. Is the end result then that Gen Alpha is 40 million and collapsing, and there won't be any humans in the future, or cities are going to start shrinking, infrastructure is going to start crumbling, and we're going to go, it was a moral good to make sure that we had this semblance of equality under the law, and then society was destroyed by it.
Well, equity of agency does mean bad outcomes sometimes. The issue is that I'm not opposed to people strongly.
Which proves that when women have agency, things go bad.
No, actually, when most people have agency, people make terrible choices, right? When we give young men free agency, what's the window where young men do the most crime? It's typically the ages where they get the most amount of agency. People, when they are given choice, often choose poorly, but that's not the.
So on one hand, women not having a choice. Women not having the choice was a moral failing in America. But now she's saying, well, people having the choice, that's when they do bad things. Well, which one is it? Because I'm assuming when she says people, she also means women, right? So is it good to give women agency or not?
Reason we don't give them choice, because if we don't give them choice, they are enslaved to correct action because of necessity, and that's not the world that we want to live in. We want people to choose the noble thing because they are choosing to do so.
Now here's the thing.
Wait.
Okay, and she keeps saying we want people to choose the noble thing. Okay, so why aren't women choosing the noble thing and becoming mothers and wives? Like, why aren't they choosing the noble thing? That would be the noble thing, right? So she keeps saying, well, let's let them choose a noble thing. Okay, well, why don't we push them to choose a noble thing? But she doesn't like that.
I see your perspective with agency. I see that, but we need to be honest with women. The problem is that we're not honest with women, right? We don't tell them, look, if you want to pursue a career, you want to make money, your chances of finding a guy down the road are going to be significantly harder. We don't tell them if you decide to be promiscuous now, it's going to cost you later on. We tell women they should be able to do whatever they want and not deal with consequences of their actions. In other words, go ahead and be on OnlyFans and you'll still find a guy that's 6'3", making $100,000 a month that's going to take you seriously. It's not going to happen.
Sure,
so we're not honest with women about what happens. And the reason why is because women don't really deal with the consequences of their bad decisions a lot of times until it's too late. At least with men, if I'm a loser, I have to deal with the consequences of being a loser. Women don't. We don't tell them the truth because financially, there's no incentive to tell women the truth because women are consumers. So we want to tell them what sounds good so they continue to consume.
Bro, real quick, it's like how Unilever owns Ben & Jerry's and they own Dove's Real Beauty campaign. It's like telling all these women, hey, you're beautiful if you're fat. By the way, here's our ice cream. Eat more of it.
Yeah. We don't tell women the truth, which is one of my biggest problems. Like if we want to give them agency, that's fine. But at least let's let them know this is what your agency comes with. And if you decide to go down this road, this was going to happen. We don't tell women the truth, which is one of the biggest issues.
Exactly. I totally agree with that, except I'm going to totally contradict that right now. Real quick, if you're enjoying this, hit that subscribe button and hit that like button. That'll really help me out a lot. Let's continue.
With you, actually. So one of my biggest frustrations with feminism, as somebody who's defending feminism, which is funny because feminists really don't like me a lot of the time, is that I think that we have done a lot of infantilizing of women. I think that infantilizing of women was a form of sexism that came with low agency. And the issue is that women are being like, we want agency, but also baby us. And I think that that's a bad thing. The issue is that I have no issue with you saying, women, you should have a family. It's the thing that you will come to love the most. You should be more careful in who you're selecting. I don't have any issue with this. I have an issue with you taking away my rights because that takes away my agency.
Well, a lot of times we have to take your agency away so you make the right decisions. That's the problem.
Well,
and that's
the issue,
Well, again, who's taking away their rights? Who is sitting up there saying we're going to take away your rights? No one is saying that. No one is saying let's take away your rights.
Work for a
That's
very
not
long
meaningful.
time.
That's not
Because when you
meaningful.
leave
But they always conflate that. They always conflate like, hey, you should do this. This is your duties in society with you're taking away my rights.
women, well, here's the thing. When you leave women to their own devices, they make really bad decisions.
When you
right?
leave men
Look
to
at
their
the
own
divorce
devices,
rates,
they
look at
make
the
bad
marriage rates,
decisions.
look at the way society is now, where the nuclear family is crumbling. When you give women their own decisions, they make really bad decisions. That's why the father was so important, because we would keep our daughters off the strip poles and our sons out of jail. At least with men, however, when we do dumb shit, we deal with consequences. With
How many
women,
men are
they
addicted to
don't deal
porn?
with consequences.
How many men are addicted to porn?
Here's the thing, though. They're addicted to
lot.
porn because you're right. But again, they deal with consequences for being fucking losers. Women don't. That's my point.
Women do,
What does that
because they
mean?
turn.
Okay.
You already wait. Hold on. Of course they do. You already said that if they go on and they have all this career and stuff, they're going to be less likely to find a man. That is the consequence of their
But they
choice.
don't-
No, it's not. It's not the consequence. I mean, yes, it is the consequence, but we're not telling them that's a consequence. We're telling them, no, no, no. If you're still single at 40 and you have no husband or children, that's okay. No, society is not telling them, hey, listen, you made some bad choices, or hey, if you don't do this, this is what's going to happen. That's what Myron is trying to say. So yes, you're right. That is a consequence, but they're not learning from the consequence because we're not telling them it's a consequence. We're telling them, no, that's actually empowering. It's empowering to be single at 40 with no children. You did nothing wrong there, sister. That's what society is telling them.
Find out
talking
till it's
about-
too late is my point.
The issue is that most
And we
men
don't
who are
tell them
addicted to
this.
porn don't discover how much it's fucking up their sex lives until
Well,
they
their
actually
dicks
get a
can't come
girlfriend
up,
and they
yeah.
can't inside their girlfriend. That's the issue with porn addiction.
Sure.
Yeah, but is she going to be for banning corn? I mean, she's absolutely right. That's why corn is bad. And I agree, we should ban it, and it's bad because, yes, men are addicted to it. Completely agree there. But if I were to say, hey, we should ban corn, or hey, OF girls, if we were to come down and say, hey, we should shame OF girls and things of that nature, is she going to agree with me on that, or be like, well, no, they have the agency to do that. They have the free agency to do that.
Sure.
So
Wait, hold on. Myron, you want to ban porn?
Do I? Man, it has
Yes.
a lot of, dude. I'm very close to. Yeah,
he
I
wants a
think.
nanny state, guys.
I think it needs to be regulated in a way. I think we need to regulate it.
You want to ban porn?
I think it's
No.
a problem.
No.
You don't want.
See, but they don't want to ban it. I'm like, no, I am pro banning corn. Get rid of corn. But see, what's frustrating about this as well is that Myron is trying to point out this is what women need to do. This is a problem with women, and neither of these women want to take responsibility. They always want to blame it on the men, even though like they go, well, when you give women free agency this, and they're like, well, if you give men free agency this, aren't they addicted to corn? But then, as I predicted, if you want to talk about banning corn, they're like, no. Okay, well, if this is something that a lot of men are addicted to, then why won't you help men and get it out of there?
You don't. But what about all those problems you just named?
Exactly.
Again, I don't want to ban drugs, even though drugs cause addiction a lot of time. I want people to make choices, and I want there to be off ramps for bad choices as much as possible. But at the end of the day, I want people to make a noble choice. If I sit my kid down, hold on. If I sit my
What a moron.
kid down and I say carrots or broccoli, and they choose carrots, I'm not going to be like, wow, my kid's picking healthy food. No, they were forced to the correct action by necessity. I don't want that.
What if you had ice cream today? What if you said,
I don't know if Erudite has children, but if she had a daughter and her daughter was like, I want to do OF, she's going to be like, well, listen, you made a choice. You had your own agency. Good for you. No, I'm pretty sure she's being, well, if you're a good parent, you'd be like, no, you're not doing that. That's horrible. At least try to discourage her as much as you can from doing that and tell her the downfalls of doing that.
broccoli, carrots, ice cream? What are they going to
now
pick?
they have agency.
And what are they going to pick?
They're probably going to pick ice cream for a long
Fuck
time.
yeah, ice cream every time.
Yeah.
So
until they get tummy aches
here's
and
my
then they
question.
stop.
And this is not to agree or disagree, but it's a philosophical moral question.
Yeah.
You keep saying, yes, these bad things are going to happen, but we should be able to choose.
Yes.
If that system leads to the end of humanity, is it the right choice?
That system has led to America as it is today, and I think America.
No, that's not correct.
It
well,
absolutely
technically it is.
Hold on.
With all its crime and
Well, what is Western
dysfunction.
civilization? Western civilization is Greek philosophy, it's Roman bureaucracy and law, and it is Christian theology. That's the foundations of Western society. And all of these systems value individualism. It values your ability to make choices,
Christianity values what?
including bad choices.
So let me ask you: is it like
Well, in Christianity, if you make bad choices, then you're going to go to hell. If you sin and you don't repent for those sins, yet you're going to go to hell if you make all these sins. So what the hell is she talking about?
nice to have your door open on a nice, cool summer night? You know,
Sure.
it feels good. And then at 3 a.m, one day a guy breaks into your house. Yes, you can mention that there are good systems that lead to comfortability and success, but eventually those can create security problems for your society, which creates the ebb and flow of security states.
Exactly. But
The problems are going to get so bad that more Myrons are going to start emerging because they're going to say, crime is way too high. Women keep voting for Democrats overwhelmingly. And whether the reason is that women vote for Democrats, that's what they identify. And then it's going to lead to some kind of social disorder and then an authoritarian shift.
Sure. So there's this.
Kamala would
I
be
wish
president right now if we had to rely on female votes. She would literally
probably
be president right now.
Yeah. So
That's bad.
It'd be a Democrat supermajority across the country.
Yeah.
So there's this concept, I wish I could remember what it's called, but it's this idea how essentially sometimes the advocacy, the social advocacy itself prevents the bad thing from happening. So let me give an example. You guys are familiar with Jordan Peterson, Bill C-16. He was super worried about, are you guys familiar with this? So I don't have to like summarize it. You guys are familiar about this? Great. Okay.
Yeah, he lost that, didn't he?
He did. But one of his arguments for why he was doing it is he was saying this might lead to some sort of authoritarian control on free speech. And a whole bunch of people, like, especially on my side, were like, you're so stupid. The issue is that it is very likely that his advocacy against C-16 is part of what informed Congress's interpretation of that bill to make it less authoritarian. I don't have an issue with you guys saying women should be more cautious. Women aren't being very smart. I don't have an issue with that. That's free speech. And that is some of the things that will probably offset the degradation of society that you're maybe worried about if I agree with your like worldview. What I care about is taking away rights. That's it. That's my hard line. Don't take away the
once
rights.
again, let me ask you the question. If the system you have described,
Watching corn isn't a right, though. I don't have the right to watch corn or produce corn. It doesn't fall into free speech. I don't. That's not a right.
leads to the end of humanity, was it a good system?
I would have to believe you that the American project will lead to the end of society. I just don't think it will.
The question is, let's try this again.
Sure.
If a system of open and free choice would ultimately lead to the end of of civilization, human death and extinction, is it a good system?
Nope. But I don't think that that's the system that we have.
So at what point in the current trends would it get bad enough for you to believe we are on track for civilizational collapse? Could it be like fertility at 0.3 or 0.6?
No, that's tough because the fertility issue is way less about feminism and way more about our terrible food and our agriculture
I
sector.
disagree.
Yeah,
well, like you guys just talked
disagree.
about E and testosterone, like that's really bad for fertility.
Well, they do say that actually, I was saying that earlier about the microplastics. Men are to blame for the fertility issue too.
They
are.
You're
They-
swimming
they-
from hot
they-
goods.
By all means, we can mention that guys have gotten weaker and whinier,
Sure.
whatever you want to say. But the reality is, I won't make any excuses for it. I didn't have a family in my 20s. I just had a kid for the first time.
Congratulations.
Where was my generation, men and women, to be like, it is a social imperative to have a family now, sort it out. For all the young guys, men were told sexual liberation, you don't need to have a family, who cares, birth control and abortions in every major city. And now Gen Alpha, I don't think people realize how insane it is that the upcoming generation that are 15 years old at their oldest, there's only 40 million already. And actually, I'm a big fan of this part. Universities are shutting down 18 years on from the financial collapse in 07, 08. People my age didn't have any kids. There are no 18-year-olds to go to university or to start jobs. And so companies are struggling to hire. Universities are shutting down. And this is just the beginning of fertility collapse. Now, if we had a society that told men, and I'm saying even with choice, they said to men, guys, you should strive to be the best, the strongest, the boss. Women, choose what you want, but social pressure is be a mom, have a family, help society continue. If that was the route we went and we still had social pressures on having kids, we wouldn't be in this fertility crisis.
Yeah, no, Tim Pool is actually 100% correct there. Tim's younger than me. How old is Tim Pool like? Hold on, just real quick. Let me search that up. Let's see. How old is Timothy Pool? I put Tim Pool, but all right. Oh, he's 39 years old. He's not that much younger than me. So he's only like what, 3 years younger than me? No, 2 years younger than me. Yeah. Oh, so Tim Pool's only 2 years younger than me. But he's absolutely correct. I was in the same position when I was in my my late teens, early 20s, and mid 20s. I wasn't told this whole thing about like, yeah, I wasn't raised on the importance of having a family. I wasn't told that. I was told actually, no, the 20s are for your live, laugh, loving, just going out, having fun, you doing you. Obviously, take care of whatever responsibilities, but no, it's about you doing you. And I wasn't happy. I wasn't happy. I now that I'm actually happy, I know what happiness is, and I wasn't happy then. I was miserable. I always had this deep down, uh, depression and stuff like that. And we weren't told this, our generation, me and Tim Pool's like generation. And so yeah, he's absolutely 100% correct. And that's why it's important that now we're righting the ship, righting the wrongs, correcting the course, and undoing all of this bullshit. Because yeah, it's not healthy and it's not good. And that's why you are getting these infertility infertility issues, because also people are having children later. And when you have kids later, it's not all the how do you say, all the parts or the components aren't going to be the healthiest. And that's why we're trying to tell people, like, listen, men and women, we all have choices. Both the sexes have choices. I know women like to pretend they don't or they didn't, but they do. But men have always been told, you need to do this. Men were never given the choice of, yeah, listen, listen. You could be a stay-at-home husband and father, or you could go and have a job. It's up to you. The world is yours. No, but women are told this. And so it's leading to a whole bunch of problems. And we always put it on men, and we have always put it on men. We've always put it on men. And so now that we're trying to put it back onto women, hey, listen, this is your issue too. It takes both the sexes to correct the course of the ship here. And women just don't want to hear it, especially these like women like not so erudite and that that salty feminist there who had issues with it. And she's like, well, don't take away my rights. No one's talking about taking away rights. Corn isn't a right. What was the other thing she didn't want to ban? There's something else she brought up that she didn't want to ban, but that's not. Oh, drugs. Drugs isn't a right either. So why can't we ban them if it's for better of society? Anyway, yeah. So we do need to put it on women as well and stop telling them, no, you're all girl bosses and it's anti-feminist or what have you. It's oppression, I should say. It's oppression if we tell you, hey, no, listen, the goal is to have a family, have kids, be a wife. Yeah, we need to start holding women accountable. But what did you guys think about this? Leave a comment in the comment section below. Give this like button, hit that like button and subscribe to my channel. That'll really help me out a lot. I'll have links to the original video down below. And watch the Cool Stream Live Monday through Fridays at 12:30 p.m. Eastern Time.